What's up, everybody? It's your boy Nolan Radd, 89 here today, continuing the John Carpenter review series, as now we're going to be talking about Escape from LA, which is the sequel to Escape from New York. This one's going to be really exciting to talk about because I have fond memories of watching this at a young age, but now watching it as an adult. I've rewatched this film many a times. I think actually in my lifetime, I've probably, to my knowledge, watched this one more than Escape from New York. But today we're going to talk about positives, the negatives, and rating for Escape from LA. Roll it. So Escape from LA brings Kurt Russell back as Snake Plissken, where this time he's sent on a different mission to, obviously, as the title states, to Los Angeles instead of New York this time, where he's sent after the president's daughter, Utopia, who she actually stole a black box and then actually got onto Air Force 3. I think it was Air Force, not Air Force 1. It's like Air Force 3. And she hijacks the plane and ends up crash landing in LA, which right now LA has been, because of a giant earthquake, sectioned off from the United States, and they use that island as kind of like a prison planet or an exile planet, kind of, or a state, you know what I mean? So that's where the president and the government send all their exiles, all their prisoners, or people who are stricken of the U.S. citizenship, and they have to send in Kurt Russell, who plays Snake Plissken, to rescue the daughter and retrieve the black box. So today, let's get into the positives right now. One really key positive when it comes to Escape from LA is I love seeing Kurt Russell. I really adore diving back into this character on a new adventure. I mean, this is one of the coolest characters he's ever played on screen in cinema, and just seeing him like in another, location, LA, the backdrop, which I actually like the Los Angeles backdrop a little bit better, but a new location, a new mission, I'm so down for it because this is a character that I would spend many missions on with. And as I said, the backdrop, LA, I actually like the setting of Los Angeles better. And you can tell with this one, the production value, the money, John Carpenter and them had more money. There's more special effects. There's actually added CGI effects and all this stuff. And the locations and the set designs is way more extravagant than Escape from New York, which is a huge plus for me. But, when it comes to CGI, it's a little bit of a rough spot because this is the early, early days of CGI. But yeah, John Carpenter and them definitely used the money that they were given in this budget. Another thing is the cast around Kurt Russell. We have an ensemble beyond belief. We have Bruce Campbell in here. We have Pam Grier in here. Stacy Keach. There is an amazing cast all across the board. Steve Buscemi plays a really funny side character in here. So I think the cast is a lot of fun to be around. And when you watch this one, after watching Escape from New York, you can tell that Escape from LA is more of a tongue-in-cheek kind of satirical nature type film. You know what I mean? It's much more lighthearted in tone and much more silly and over the top. So when it comes to this one, I think this one kind of harkens back to like 80s action films, those ones that were just ballistic, over the top with the guns and the explosions or the setting or the story. That's kind of what Escape from LA is like. And as I said, I had a lot of fond memories with this film as a young lad watching this film, and this is one definitely, if I could reach back into my recesses of my mind, if I think about it, Escape from New York and Escape from LA, I've probably watched this one more than New York, and that's just because of the tone, and that's really why, is because there's certain scenes in here I prefer to Escape from New York, be it that it's like that. The basketball scene, that's one example right there. I actually enjoy the basketball scene better. I think Cuervo Jones is kind of a more intimidating and a more interesting, entertaining villain than the Duke. So it's just, there are certain things about LA I prefer, but when you sit back and you really watch it, and then you as an adult have these more critique eyes on me, you know what I mean? And I'm watching them, I still really do adore this film and I have a lot of fun with it. But there are some mixed and negatives, so let's now get into those. And when it comes to the biggest negative with this film, it's definitely going to be the fact that it is basically a carbon copy of Escape from New York. I mean, story-wise, the plot points, the plot beat, everything. I mean, it really is a carbon copy. So after you watch Escape from New York and then you watch Escape from LA, it's like literally just they kind of change the characters, they change some settings, but everything else is pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Kurt Russell's character is the same. There's no real arc for Snake Plissken. He's just this amazing, badass, crime military man that's sent by the government to do a mission. And that's literally the same in both movies. He doesn't have like a character arc or anything. And when it comes to, like I said, the pace of the film and also the way that the story's laid out, it is very, very similar to Escape from New York. So that's definitely going to hold this film back as being, kind of just a very much a exact copy of that first film. Another negative, which I could actually say is kind of a mixed for me because I love watching this film and seeing the early CGI. There are moments where I'm like, yeah, this takes me out of it. It looks pretty crappy. Like you have computer or video game graphics that look better than some of the CGI effects in this film, but also it kind of just reminds me of that era, of that time, the late 90s, early 2000s, when CGI was really blowing up and creators, writers, and directors just thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and they thought it looked good, but it really doesn't age well. It's a fond memory. It really does make me feel warm in heart, and it's kind of charming to watch that or see those scenes. But it is still a mixed or negative because when you watch it, you could easily tell those scenes are some really bad CGI. And for most people, it's probably going to take you out of the movie. And another negative I'm going to have with this one is going to be the score. This one is another one where it's kind of a carbon copy score of Escape from New York, but I prefer the 80s, more synth, more mechanical score from the Escape from New York, whereas this one's more of a Western theme score, very similar to John Carpenter's Vampires, which I just prefer the score to Escape from New York. So that's another negative with Escape from LA, is I think this score is probably one of John Carpenter's laziest because it's kind of just a remake of the New York score, but with this one, like I said, he threw in a Western, like Southwestern flavor, which does fit where the setting is in the film and all that kind of stuff because it's in Los Angeles, so I understand why he did that version of the score. I just don't like it as much. And it's quite fun because as a kid, as a young lad, like if you were to ask like 10, 11, or 12-year-old Robert Norrad 89 back then, he would have told you Escape from LA was his favorite one. And there are still, like I said, moments and times where I prefer to watch this one, and it's because of the tone and because of the nature of the film, you know what I mean? And also the cast around Kurt Russell. But when it comes to my honest opinion and just being older now and watching both films and really digesting them and kind of critiquing them and everything, I think Escape from New York is a better film. But in terms of a Radd rating for Escape from LA, this film's going to get a 7.5 out of 10. Still a very strong rating. I cannot knock it any lower than that. It's a 7.5 or an 8 film for me. It's just, I really adore being on another adventure with Snake Plissken. Like I said, this is one of my favorite characters that Kurt Russell's ever played on screen, and John Carpenter is the perfect director at the helm to do this character. Like I'm one of those people that I'm kind of nervous if they're going to reboot Escape from New York and Escape from LA, because I just feel like you can't do it with any other actor or director. I know they're going to do it. They probably will eventually reboot it or remake it, but in my hearts, as a fan, I just feel like there's no other version you can get that would be better than John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, that pairing. These are just my thoughts and my opinions, though, on Escape from LA. Please shout out down below in the comment section what are your feelings on this film so we can discuss it, and also like, share, subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Definitely helps out the channel, but most importantly, you all know what's up. Have a safe and happy day. Peace out.